Let me take this time to shine my light, shine the light, shine the light.
So you asked the question, why are we here?
Yep.
And, like I think I started in the beginning to say, you and I both, people was always a very big thing, and it's what connected us.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, from a leadership perspective, that's what connected us. And from there, then I think it was like a month ago, we were talking about leadership and inspirational things and motivational things. And then I don't remember who said what, but it was, we should think about documenting this,
Yeah.
turning it into some sort of podcast.
Correct.
And then that idea then evolved into, but what if we actually, over and above a podcast, we actually film it?
Correct.
And then from that, evolving into not just you and I, but bringing in people who we, admire, people who have made a significant impact in their respective industries, people who have a lot to offer on leadership.
Yeah.
And how do we, how can we then incorporate them in this journey?
Yeah.
And not just incorporate them, but you and I, because we're such students,
Yes.
and we love to learn and we love to listen to other people's journeys, is how do we then create something, a platform, leadership diaries, whatever, that we can then invite guests to come and we have a conversation.
Yeah.
But most importantly, not just a conversation, a very frank, authentic, honest conversations.
Not interviews.
And not an interview, because an interview is very formal.
Correct.
And if that was the case, we wouldn't look the way that we look.
Exactly.
We wouldn't be dressed how we're dressed. But also, because we know all of these people. Once the audience meets them, they'll find that they know these people. But what they don't know are some of the people's challenges that they faced. And I think that is where the key components where people can grow comes from.
Yeah.
Because you don't grow when you're doing well, you grow when things are not going well.
Correct.
And often people don't share those things. So the purpose of bringing them on is really to have, hard-hitting discussions to say, don't tell me about, we understand your successes, we know your biography, we know the things that you've achieved.
Correct.
And there are probably things you've achieved that we don't know about.
Yeah.
But how did you achieve those things? What led you to that place? Because we know that there have been some dark times. We know that there have been times where maybe you were fired, maybe you were overlooked on a promotion, maybe things just...
And we want that.
And that's the part that we want.
Yeah. We want
How did you get over that? How were you resilient? What kept you going?
And how long it took.
Because
I think that's the issue, right? My issue in most interviews or conversations that I see people having is that, when someone talks about his journey and his struggles, he skims through them, right? And what I fear is that what it does for people is that when they listen to that person, when someone says, I was living out of my car for a while, what is a while, right? So when someone has struggles for 6 months, they're like, okay, it's been too long now, so now like the other person, the light should be coming in and it should be changing. Meanwhile, maybe that person went through that journey for 2 years.
Right.
So I think one of the things we want to know is, in those 2 years, what were you doing? How are you either keeping yourself motivated, but when you say you're a hustler, because everybody loves that word, what does that mean? What did you do exactly? Because I think a lot of people, when we say, keep going, keep, pushing, it's not enough, because I'm struggling now, and you're saying I must keep going. I don't know where to go.
Right.
I'm just stuck. And I think having conversations with people who are going to tell us that when I was in that particular situation, which may resonate with you, this is what I actually did.
Right.
And that's what we'll do, right? It's about when it's our learning, and then for you just happen, the consumers is actually listening to it, our coaching when they're actually coaching us, and sharing that information with us. And we want to know. We want to know these things. We want to know all these pearls of wisdom from these individuals. Some of them will be tough because we're going to have to draw it out of some people, because you know, it's not always going to be
Forthcoming.
popular. Yeah, because it's so, you're so used to interviews.
Yeah.
So when someone says, "What did you do?" Very prim and proper. That's not what we want.
Yeah.
That's why it's a conversation.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that, you know, we keep very honest to that, because it's about bringing light to the light, the conversations, bringing to the light the challenges, bringing to the light all the journeys and how they've gone through them and how they reached where they are, and also bringing to the light the fact that the journey is not done.
Correct.
Right. So it's just because that's life, right? It's a set of cycles. You move here and then you move into the next challenge and you move to the next challenge. What this challenge does is just grow your capacity, so you are able to withstand more,
Right.
and you're able to do more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's the end. I always use this quote about today as it is. So like for you and I today, it's the hardest it's ever been, right? In our journeys.
Yeah.
But it's the easiest it's ever gonna be,
Right.
for the rest of our lives, because
Right. It's gonna get harder.
it's gonna get harder.
Yeah.
So every single challenge, that's the hardest it's been up to that point. But going forward, that's gonna be the easiest.
True story.
And it's all gonna depend on how you react to that. It's all gonna depend on how you build onto that and how you grow and how you reach out to other people and learn from that. And I think that's why one of the other things that we wanted to start something like this. It's about really we getting our coaching and our conversations, and we just make it privy to other people and viewers for them to learn. And hopefully, they learn something from it and enjoy the show.
Absolutely.
as well.
And on top of that, I think with the people that we've mentored in the past, we found that there were similar themes
Correct.
throughout.
Correct.
You know, how do you balance, or how do you go through work-life balance?
Yes.
And often I say there is no balance.
Correct.
You know,
And people hate that.
people
So
don't,
when you
people
say
don't want to
it-
hear that, but it's true. You know, at some point, your career is balanced. You're doing enough or more than enough, but then your health suffers. You're not exercising,
Correct.
or your family suffers because you're not at home as much as you'd like to be at home. So it's this moving part dynamic that is always shifting.
Correct.
You know, other people will talk about, how did you get to where you got to? As a sales director, what were the steps? Because people think that, it's steps,
Yes.
there's 5 steps, and if you do these 5 steps, you'll get there. How do you navigate in corporate?
Yeah.
Because as people of color especially, we don't understand corporate. And the rules in corporate are very different to the rules as an entrepreneur,
How do you network?
as the rules being a tenderpreneur.
Correct.
They're very different.
Correct.
How do you network?
Yeah.
How do you build your brand in an organization? How do you deal with rejection or failure?
Yeah.
And how do you deal with setbacks?
Yeah.
How do you get up when things are not going your way? How do you
How do
just?
you overcome procrastination? That's my favorite one. That's come through recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of questions around that in terms of procrastination, and I think it's obviously part of it is driven by COVID, because when you're alone, you work faster. So a lot of things that when you're working in an office environment, people are around. So you work, and then you go by the coffee station and you chat to people, and boom, an hour's gone, and you go back to your desk and you work. Now, there's no distractions.
Right.
So things that took you 4 hours to do before, they're taking you 2 hours, and now you have 2 hours spare to do now. You know what I mean? And so people are now finding that procrastination is becoming an issue where they're going,
I actually found the inverse to be true actually, because with COVID, people are working from home, and now when you're in the office, as much as you were there from a particular time to a particular time, so you're not driving to the office, so
Correct.
you don't have that. You don't have those distractions. You don't have the distractions of your colleagues coming to you and interrupting you
Correct.
and disrupting your flow. However, being at home has brought in different challenges, because now you're waking up at, say, more or less the same time, and you're starting at the same time, but you've got other distractions, because before you didn't have to worry about, okay, the children, I need to feed them, I need to bath them. You don't have to worry about other service providers coming in, and because you're at home, the expectation is that you're available.
I think it's more the single people that have given me that.
Right.
It's not the people with families.
Right.
The people with families is definitely the inverse.
100%.
They are, it's too much.
Yeah. And also
Yeah.
the time thing,
Yeah.
because now you don't have an excuse to say, I can only arrive at this time.
Yeah.
People have full access to your diary,
Yeah.
and there's just one meeting after the next.
Correct.
So you don't have an opportunity to breathe.
Correct.
and actually start doing the job or doing the work, you're just continuously in meetings.
So with action steps.
Exactly. So now you're in a situation where there's more meetings and opportunity or time for you to actually get the work done. So what would take you an hour is now taking 2 or 3 hours.
Correct.
Because of all these other things.
Yeah.
So, but to your point, it's different. It's a different journey for different people. But it's just been that fact that how do we navigate through these different spaces. So
Which
that's
I think is why these topics are. Which is why I think these topics then are relevant because, like you were saying, I think everyone, whoever we coach and whoever we talk to, they always have this thing about, no, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this,
Right.
and then you get promoted,
Right.
or you get this success, or you
Right.
get that. Now, when you start adding the fact that people have to live lives, which is why I talk about live your best life. People
Right.
live lives. There are certain sacrifices you have to make. There are certain ways you navigate different situations. There are certain your challenges are not the same.
Right.
As a result, I mean, Black Lives Matter has been a massive talking point in recent months.
right.
But it still means different things to different people.
Correct.
And we're trying to find a blanket approach in terms of what it means. I've seen people who they're angry, right? We're all angry and because of something that's happened. And my question is always, okay, so what do you want to do, right? If you're going to approach someone and you want to fight something, what is the ultimate goal that you're trying to get? Because everything you do needs to have according to me, it has to have a generational impact. You can't do something that will impact only you. Then you haven't done what you're supposed to do because that's our purpose, right?
Right.
Our purpose and my purpose, the way I see it is, I mean, if I can leave this earth knowing that Africa, so not just South Africa, but Africa as a whole, is playing a significant role in the global economy through the right leaders that have been produced, then I'll die happy person. Then I know that I've done my job. That for me is the thing. That's the vision, right? I think we shortchange ourselves. We are as a continent. I mean, and I think it's because there's corruption and all. We talk about all of those things, but every country does, right? I have this, but I think it's worse because we don't have the right leaders. Right? We don't have the right leaders who are going to take the future of the continent forward. We have people who, we have people in politics are in their 60s and 70s.
Right.
And they're trying to make policy decisions for a generation that's 4 or 5 times their junior.
Their grandkids.
And exactly, which by the way doesn't live in the same realm as them.
Yeah.
And we expect those decisions to be the right ones. Right. And so we need those leaders to be developed now. And for me, it's about if I have someone that I'm mentoring who's really young. If I reached a certain milestone at a certain age, so let's say I reached a milestone at 27, my goal is for that person to reach it at 24.
Right.
Because it's about energy for me at the end of the day. So if I reach sales director at 40, let's use an example. If I can get someone to reach sales director at 35, they have more energy than I would at 40 to push for things. So they can get a lot further than I can in any environment because they have the energy that we don't have. Because as much as we think that we can go on at the same pace forever, we can't. At some point, your energy depreciates, But if you have young people who have the energy, because those are the people that really truly change the world, then if you get them younger and you develop them in the right way and they reach those milestones earlier, they can move further than I can ever move. And therefore, the impact that they will have will definitely be generational. And if I can get them to the same mentality of it's not about you. It's never been about you.
It's bigger than
it's about the next person. It's about generational. How do you make an impact generationally? And if I can achieve those two things for me, I think I'll be very happy.
Your purpose.
Yeah, I would have lived my purpose. Yeah. And for you?
Yeah, I think for me, if you're doing what you love what you do, and it's always been about that. Do what you love what you do.
Yeah.
If you find that you're in a space that you don't enjoy, sometimes there are lessons in that,
Correct.
which you got to push through.
Correct.
We all done jobs that we didn't want to do, but those jobs shaped us
Yeah.
to the jobs that we did want to do.
Yeah.
And if you recognize that, and you have people who are helping you along the way, along the journey, to say, don't quit. You know, there's a reason why you're going through this. So for me, it's always been about, do what you love and love what you do. Because the other thing that I love to say is YOLO. You only live once.
Yeah.
And if you do it well, you don't need to live twice. So at the end of the day, we have a certain period of time that we can do certain things. So try and do the things that you love now whilst you can, while still learning different things. Because often in the conversation I have with people that I mentor is often growth, we think growth comes from moving upwards. But there's a lot of growth that happens when you're moving sideways, laterally as well.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. We come from you and I come from an area where, you spent 5 years in a row.
Correct.
And then from there, then you move to the next role.
Correct.
Now, you can spend 2 to 3 years in a row and then move laterally,
Yeah.
where you're gaining breadth,
Yeah.
And as a result, you're learning new skills, which then help you in a different role, because it gives you more capacity.
Yeah.
It gives you better understanding across a different function. And often people, younger people don't see that as growth. They see growth as a promotion. So it's also about helping people understand that the better rounded you are, your projection is going to be a lot easier as well in terms of how far you can move. Because you don't have to be a specialist.
Yeah.
As long as you know enough about
Especially in this
something,
world.
especially in this world, if you know enough about something, you've gained a particular skill. That skill will help you in a different role. You may not know it now, but later on, it definitely. You know what I mean?
And how much do you think? Two things. How much do you think social media plays in this? And how much do you think what other people? I guess it's the same thing, but like people get into corporate, and then there's a path that's been set.
Right.
How much do you think that plays into it? Because some people join organizations and you ask them, okay, so what do you want to do? Where do you want to be? I want to be a sales director. And you're like, oh, okay. But is that really what you want to do? And I'm a reality breaker. Like I don't believe in reality, right? I don't believe in doing something because that's how it's done. I don't believe that this is a reality, so therefore that's what I do. If it was,
Right.
I'd still be living in Durban.
Right.
I'd still be in Pine Town where I grew up. That's where I would be, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what my reality said. I had two options. Like I was either going to be a teacher like my mom, or I was going to be either a police officer or a clerk somewhere. That's my reality.
Yeah.
That's what I would have lived, grown, and done. Not
Right.
that it's a bad thing. It's not. If that's what you want.
Right.
But for me, my reality was different. I've told you this before. When I was obsessed about basketball, and I always loved to read contracts. I always loved to read people's net worth, and the reason why. So I will use an example. When I see a CEO has earned, 50 million for the year, my mindset has always been, who's paying him 50 million?
Who's the
'Cause I wanna be
guy
that
behind? Who's the guy behind the guy?
Yeah, why must I be the guy who gets 50 million when I can be the guy who can pay 50 million?
100%.
Because if you can pay 50 million, that means how much more money do you have?
Correct.
And it's always been like that. And when I grew up, my friends at high school, my family even at times would be like, yeah, but who cares who pays him? And I'd be like, because I will only pay someone if it's like 5% of what I have. Because you're not gonna pay him 50% of what you have.
Absolutely.
So if I'm paying Shaquille O'Neal $200 million in freaking 1996, right? 200 million over 4 years. That means I can afford to pay him 200 million over 4 years.
And that's just one player.
That's just one player, and I'm paying the whole team in those regions. So how much money do I have? And that's the guy I want to be, and that's the guy I've always wanted to be. So, and I think that shaped in terms of what can be a reality. And because I've always believed that if Michael can do it, then I can do it. In fact, I can even do it better. Right? It's just about commitment. So I've lost all sense of reality. So when someone talks to me and says, realistically, can you do this? My feedback is, you're talking to the wrong person when you talk about reality, because I don't believe in that. So when you tell me my dream is to become a social entrepreneur, but that's not possible, so I'm gonna do this because I'm not. But you have it in your head, right? So the vision is here.
Mapped it all out in your head. Yeah.
So then all you have to do is create that.
Correct.
You know, and that's always been my belief, and I live by that every single day. You know, in terms of that's why sometimes I do so many things, because people believe you when you've done it. Right. A lot of people like to push back to you by saying, yeah, but you've never done it. So when someone says, yeah, but I can only be a corporate person, I say, you don't have to be. And they say, but how do you know that? I say, yeah, but I DJ, I produce, I sing, I've featured on people's songs, I've produced people, I've managed artists in the past, I've run events in the past, so I know what it's like. So that's why I'm telling you can do more than that. And people are like, yeah, but you can do that when you're junior. When you're senior, you can't do that. And I go, okay, I'll show you, because then I'm doing it. Hence why even The Light makes sense for us. That's the name of the show, by the way, guys. It's called The Light. But hence why The Light is important for me, is to say, you can do whatever you want to do. It's just about how you prioritize and how you do that. And I want to be the beacon, the living example, the living light that says,
The torch.
yeah, the torch that says, that guy has paved the path. I can do it. I can do that. And that's why I think we want to talk to people who are not in the same spheres or the same industries,
Absolutely.
right? They are doing different roles.
And females as well,
And
women.
Exactly. So it's different, because our experience of corporate is a little bit different to a female's experience.
Absolutely.
Our experience already differs just between the two of us,
Correct.
you know, and it shaped us into who we are today. And so I find it really critical and important that's why we wanted a diverse sort of guest list, if I were to put it that way.
Yeah.
And we've got some exciting ones.
We do. We absolutely do.
We don't know how it's going to work. Hopefully, for some of them, we won't. There won't be stage fright. Hopefully, with some of them, I won't mention the word, but yeah.
Stage fright is definitely something that I don't think will be there. What I do think is how we're going to be able to get, those pearls out of them.
Yeah.
Because what I was going to say, you asked a question about, does social media
Yes.
play a role
Yes.
in terms of, where I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
And social media has become such a powerful tool, but at the same time, it's also a devil in its own way. Because with social media, you see people's lives, and people will always post their best life.
Correct.
Which is what you want.
Yeah.
People to live their best life.
Yeah.
And people use social media to post their best life, but you never see behind, how they achieved that, how they got to that. You just see the results. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and because there's this peer pressure, I saw Tabani, he went on a holiday to this place. I must also go. I must also be. So and so bought a new car. I must also. So and so was that. I must. So there's this thing that we always want more.
Yes.
And we want, and that comes back to human nature.
Yes.
We always want more.
Correct.
And wanting more is not an issue.
Yes.
That's not a problem.
That's
In
my
fact,
business. I want more.
And that's the thing. We want more, and that's fine. There's a balance between wanting more and being content.
Correct.
And not wanting more at the expense of other things. So to answer your question in a very roundabout way, I think if you know what you want, and you're thinking about how do I get to those steps, we live in a world where there are people that have got what you want, that have achieved even more than what you want. So why not reach out to them to help and help you in that journey? And hence why we have mentors.
Correct.
We have people who guide us, because those are people who we aspire to be. And every time they talk to us, they say, don't aspire to be me, aspire to be bigger than me.
Correct.
Aspire to be greater than me.
Correct.
I am not the ceiling.
Correct.
Yes, I am further in that journey than you are, but that's not the issue. I'm here to help.
Yeah.
And what excites me about the people that we're going to be interviewing is they share the same mantra. These are people who have achieved many things, but they're always wanting to give back and to, you know, one of my favorite sayings is lift as they rise. You know, as they move, they're always thinking about other people's, how can I impart, you know, this wisdom that I have. But they're not just gonna, you know, just freely just go out and say, you know, what do you want to hear? No, you know, people will approach them like you and I have approached them, you know, and have spoken about what the vision is for the show. That is the light. You know, we're just trying to put light on circumstances and situations on the journey to help other people and help us. You know, and so it's, you know, the next 10 episodes are gonna be extremely interesting, but exceptionally, you know, I'm gonna love it because you and I, we love working together. You know, we really enjoy listening to other people's journeys and their stories. But there's one thing about listening to a story. It's another thing when you now take it in, and then you think, how can I then use that to sharpen me, make me better, so that I can achieve my desired goals, my desired outcome, and to reach my full potential.
Dude, I'm really excited. I think these people, when I think about them, I think people will be surprised also in terms of who they are, because this is not probably something that they generally do. But we'll get to the core. We'll shine the light on those things.
Absolutely.
That they're able to open up properly on those, because like you say, we're students of learning, which is what we're always about. And even the person who's helping us put this together, you know, what I like about this person, I think I'm putting him on the spot now, but what I like about him is he's also a student of learning. He's also a student of giving back. And he doesn't believe he knows it all. But what I like about him is whatever he learns, he's not those people that say, okay, I'm gonna hog it to myself. He's willing to share it, and he shares it all the time. You'll see, we'll put his details at the bottom, and you can follow him and his journey. But his journey has been phenomenal, and we'll probably talk to him in one of the episodes, just to understand his journey even further, because he's one of the younger guys, you know, that inspires me. As much as he may not know that, but he definitely does inspire me, because inspiration comes from everywhere.
Absolutely.
It's not just the older people, etc. For me, inspiration is all around. I learn a lot from older, younger, whoever. That's where we
learning.
are. That's learning. You know, his journey is different. His experience is different, and so it'll be interesting to get his perspective.
And he's interviewed us.
He's interviewed us as well.
As part of his show.
Correct. He's interviewed us as part of his show.
So yeah, no, absolutely.
I think to the viewers, welcome to the light.
100%. All right, so welcome to the light. And if you really enjoyed the conversations that Thabani and I have been having, and you felt that it resonated with you in your journey, in what it is that you're trying to achieve, then please subscribe. You can subscribe below to the light. Once you're done subscribing, Thabani, what can they do?
You need to hit the bell button, you know, so you get notification every single time we have a new video that pops up.
And then once you've done that, like it, share it with people that you care about, people that you work with, people that you inspire, people that you want to grow from. Just share it with the world.
And more importantly, please, you know, comment and tell us what you liked about the show. What are the sort of other things that you would like us to discuss going forward with the show?
Fantastic. And then hopefully we can add value to your life, just like you're adding value to ours.
And don't forget, guys.